Oh boy. Okay, guys.
Here,
Welcome to the Limits Movie Podcast, episode 9. It's the ninth episode. So
number three.
now
This is the big one.
it's the final one with Austin for now, unless he wants to do one some other time again.
If I do one, it'll be Once Upon a Time in the West.
Because you're the
Just
you're the Western guy. You're,
yep.
you're not gonna do Flash Gordon. Come on.
No, Flash Gordon was not a good movie. It was not. It's,
Okay, so when did you watch The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly? Like, what's your history with this movie?
well, I seen it once. It was, I think, free on Amazon Prime. It becomes free on Amazon Prime every once in a while. I watched it, and I mean, the first time you watch it, it's kind of long. You don't really understand it, but I've watched it numerous times,
So how
and
old were you when you first watched it?
I'd say I was probably about 13,
Okay,
12,
so
13,
it
something like
wasn't
that.
that.
No, not that long ago, but I guess I've watched it probably about 4 or 5 times, I'd say at this point. I mean, the last time I watched it was, I guess it was like a Spanish edition on YouTube for free, so I didn't really
I
watch the
did
whole.
find that because I was looking for ways to get my friend Hunter to watch it because she wanted to watch it,
Yeah,
and then I saw that and I'm like, I don't think this is how he wants to watch it.
yeah, but they changed the voices in that one. That's it's a little different, but
So it's a unique way of seeing the movie.
yeah, it's a unique interpretation of the movie,
So
but this movie is a masterpiece.
we'll get to that. I wanna say some stuff about my history with this. So I heard it was a good movie.
Hmm.
So what I did, and then I also heard about the whole trilogy and stuff.
Yeah,
So I got Fistful of Dollars for a few dollars more, and The Good, the Bad, Ugly from the library on like DVD.
this library.
The one we're in right now.
Yeah.
But Fistful of Dollars and for a few dollars more, the DVDs did not work,
Well, that's
which
unfortunate.
is why I haven't watched them until we did this podcast thing.
All right.
But with the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, it did work.
Well, that's a good thing
And
because
yeah,
that's the
so
one you'd want to see.
out of all of them to work, this was the one that really needed to work. So good on that one for working.
Oh yeah.
But I was sick that day, and I was like really. It wasn't good. I was feeling terrible and stuff. I just
Yeah.
needed a movie to hopefully make it a little bit easier. I was so hooked into this movie, I forgot I was sick.
Yeah, I'd say so. Obviously, it's near. Is it over the 3 hour mark, or is it just
I
like
think
two
it's
hours and
like two
50?
minutes under it.
Yeah, it's basically 3 hours. You get
It
a
felt
pretty.
like an hour and a half. It was just like the most. It was so good.
There's different. I think the movie sections itself well. You get it's like the distinct points in the movie where the characters are moving through, and the directing is excellent. The acting is excellent. The soundtrack is excellent. Like
Oh my god. Okay.
there's
Best
the
movie sound.
soundtrack. I've
Best
heard.
movie soundtrack ever made.
Yeah, I'd say I've heard some people describe the soundtrack as a character in itself. Like
That's
the
fair.
way the way the soundtrack works with what the characters are doing, because I'd say in terms of speech, there's not much talking in this movie compared to other movies. But I think like it carries itself in a certain
The
way.
whole movie has been way more in pop culture than the other two that came
Yeah,
before it. And the soundtrack is a big part of that. You have the main theme, like everyone knows the
yeah,
wah wah wah.
yeah. I mean,
Ecstasy Gold or whatever it's called has been in every car commercial
Ecstasy,
ever.
yeah, Ecstasy of Gold, I think, is in Modelo. They do that Modelo commercials.
It's such a beautiful piece of music though.
It's
There's a
like,
reason it's been used so much.
yeah, like, and there's been so many different like renditions of it by different like musical groups. I mean, it's
It's a
what it
great.
conveys like whatever you want it to in good way. Like I think, and then like there's other ones like the prison music, the
I really like
like
that.
the
Yeah.
way the
There's the
battlefield music.
I've listened to this whole soundtrack so many times, but there's also like the prison music when they enter it.
Yeah,
It's called like Marcia. That's good.
yeah, Mercy
There's
is good.
Story of a Soldier, which is the one after it, which is like the one where Eli Walk is like, I want some music to play. It's good for the digestion, and
And
then
then
it's
he
playing as
gets
he's getting beaten.
as he's getting beat. Yeah, that's a pretty gruesome scene, but and then they have the same, I think it's the same movies in a slower, sadder rendition after the battlefield scene.
Yeah.
Um, and there's like just like different like songs. Like if you played the soundtrack, you can immediately envision the entire scene where like
and we haven't even gotten to the actual story here. So
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
this
Let's.
movie doesn't have that many like super important characters. The main draw of the movie is between the main three, which is why it's
Yeah,
called The Good, the Bad, and Ugly.
yeah,
We have Clint Eastwood as Blondie or the no-name guy.
yeah.
Uh,
Same dude,
Lee
but
Van Cleef, what's it? Angel Eyes.
Angel Eyes.
And
Yeah,
then Eli Walker's Tuco.
Tuco.
So Eli Walk's the new guy here. One of my favorite characters in any movie. I
Eli
gotta be
Wallach does
honest.
it a very good job with this. I think
I think he's doing the best
he's
job of
brings
anyone in the
humor.
trilogy.
Like he brings humor. He brings like it's kind of scary at some points. Like he does a good job with as a changing character, and that's like when you look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, like nobody's good in this film, but like
It's
the
just
good is the most
he's
good.
the most good, and then Lee Van Cleef is the most despicable out of them all. He's not. He's playing a terrible person in this one
Yeah,
still.
and then I guess Eli Wallach as Tuco plays the ugly is a
Who's
perfect.
he's kind of in the middle between where he's a jerk, but he's not actively enjoying being a jerk in the same way that Lee Van Cleef does. Like early on in the movie, Lee Van Cleef he kills a bunch of people in a family, and
Yeah,
then for fun he just kills another person who hired him to kill the family.
yeah.
He
I
just
mean,
did it
like,
out of joy. He's smiling as he's doing it.
yeah. I mean, he's a terrible person. I mean, like when Tuco was getting hanged, um, for during the time when they're scamming all the towns
At the
for
beginning,
money.
yeah.
I mean, they read off Tuco's crimes. They were heinous, but I think Tuco's character is like it brings a lot to the movie
My
because
dad, I watched it with him, and this is the first time he ever saw it when I did it for the podcast here, which is the second time I've ever seen the movie. He said it really well, as he said that leaving or Eli Wall's character Tuco is the main character in the movie. It's not um, Blondie. It's he is the main character out of the three. At least if someone is,
yeah,
I think
I
that's
think
very true.
like so Clint Eastwood in this movie does a very good job at doing what he needs to do because obviously,
Throughout the whole trilogy, he's kind of just the guy who's supposed to be there and look cool. He's
yeah.
not really a character in the same way that Tuco is in this
Well, yeah,
movie.
that's the thing. So I think with the voices, like the way that like speech is conducted, Eli Wallach is like the main person speaking because like Clint Eastwood doesn't really speak in the movie as much as Eli Wallach does, and I think that's where you get like the fact that he's the main character is because he's the one doing the action and the talking because
It
like
follows him
he's
more
more
than
sporadic like and like yeah because like he's always a central point in the movie. Like he was the one arrested on the train. He was the one getting beat up. He was the one
it's
like
not a knock against the movie, but he is the most interesting part of the movie.
he is for sure. I think like there's just like the different sections. So you go from like the start when like Tuco and Clint Eastwood meet and they're like going through from town to town, and then you get to like the more like Civil War parts. I mean,
Yeah, we haven't even said it. It takes place during the Civil War, and that does come into
that
play
does
in
it
the last
does.
half hour
But I
ish,
think
or the last like hour when
yeah,
they go to that Civil War battlefield, and there's the guy, and there's the
well,
bridge, and they have to blow up the bridge and stuff.
yeah. So obviously the Civil War is what drives the plot because the whole point of the movie is all three of them are trying to get the money
Yeah,
that was left by the Confederate cavalry, was it? Or was it the Union? I can't remember whose
I don't
cavalry
know
it
the
was,
hundred.
but they're buried it in a cemetery.
And when the guy I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he like goes rolling down the desert when Eli Wallach is torturing Blondie, and
Yeah,
what happens is through a series of events, Eli Wallach learns about the name of the cemetery and
Clint Eastwood knows the
the
name of the
grave,
grave in the cemetery. So that kind of forces them to work together throughout the
even
movie,
though they
which
hate each other.
yeah, like they don't want to see each other succeed, but well, I don't say that about Clint Eastwood's character because I think Clint Eastwood's character doesn't care that much. I think he knows what he has to do. But Eli Wallach, because obviously, so you take for Eli Wallach as Tuco. For Tuco, Clint Eastwood's character was initially like a guardian angel when he was getting hanged and he was like
Hmm.
getting rescued and they were making money. But then obviously he backstabbed him, so then he like absolutely hates him and wants
Yeah,
like
Eli Wallach
revenge.
was like torturing him out of his mind. He you can see that Clint Eastwood has like all these scars and everything over his face as they're in the desert,
Yeah,
and then the second that he's the only way that Eli Wall can get the money, he's
yeah,
like, "Hey, buddy, how
yeah,
you doing, old
yeah.
pal?"
He's a very two-faced person. He's a
And then he's just constantly trying to get the name of the grave in these weird ways so he can finally get this guy to
yeah.
die.
I mean, he did when they were blowing up the bridge, but
It
Clint
was
Eastwood
the
just
it
lied.
was the kind of the wrong one.
Arch Stanton.
What it was, yeah, it was Arch Stanton, but in reality, it was the
Un
unknown grave, unnamed grave next to
and I
Arch
think Clint
Stanton.
Eastwood, I mean, in like the final duel. So like when you play the music into
I
it,
want to get to that one at the very end.
that's
The final part of the
that
movie,
the final like 10 minutes is like
that's literally perfect. But we will get there,
that's
okay?
like yeah, it is. It is.
So, yeah, we get the prison part with Eli Wallach. There's so many memorable parts of this movie to me. There's the prison part where Eli Wallach is getting beat up and everything. There's that part in the town right after where Clint Eastwood and Eli Wallach are going down and they're shooting all the people with Lee Van Cleef. There's it's kind of just a funny little character moment near the beginning when Eli Wallach makes it to a town after he gets, like you said, backstabbed by Clint Eastwood, and then he's like in this place with a gun shop, and
Oh
he's
yeah,
just
and he's
messing
just
around with
messing
this
around.
guy.
Yeah, as like
It's such a fun scene to
it's a
me.
funny scene. I mean, like, cause like the background extras kind of are they're funny too because like they're like he's just he kind of felt bad for the gun shop owner after Tuco basically just robbed him. But
Tuco puts like, and after Tuco becomes like this character with no power for most of the movie, he's kind of like the one here who's, I
getting
don't know how to
dragged
say it,
along.
but yeah, he's the joke character at
Yeah,
least compared to Clint Eastwood who's looking cool all the time.
and like
Lee
powerful.
Van Cleef who has a lot of power, and then it's like the one part where he's actually the one in control of that
Yeah, and I
situation
think
because he
well
put like the
that's
sign in.
yeah that's where Tuco. I mean, when like he got Clint Eastwood like and he was torturing him in the desert. I mean, that was like Tuco's moment of power. He's like triumph on his
He
horse or
also does
whatever.
have power there, yeah.
Like, and that's where I think the dynamic was like Tuco showing his like worst side,
Yeah,
his two-faced side, because when he has power, he like basically he abuses it. But
this movie does show that Clint Eastwood is the best guy of the bunch because he's the one who does the least terrible stuff when he does have that kind of power.
yeah, he has
He
like
still abandoned Tuco in the desert, but he still was not torturing the same way as Tuco did.
yeah, I think
And even by the end, if we can get to the end now, I guess now's a good time if you don't have anything else after the rest of the movie,
yeah,
where he does save Tuco's life at the very end, or he doesn't
yeah.
save it, but he
Well,
puts him in a system of like
you
he
take
thinks he's gonna die.
yeah. Oh yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. So they get out of the Civil War battlefield. They make it to the cemetery. That's when you get the ecstasy of gold.
Which is so good.
That is a great.
I've rewatched that so many times, and it's impressive because at the end of the day, it is a guy running around in a grave,
Yeah, if you took the music out of it, you'd be like, this is stupid. But
but it makes it so epic.
it makes it epic. And then like you get like the build up as Tuco's running through the grave. He makes it to Arch Stanton's grave.
And
And he's
slowly,
like you can see him like frantic, like you can see like the lust for
Clint Eastwood
whatever
shows up.
money
He
in his
says,
eyes.
"No, you
No.
dig." And then Lee Van Cleef shows up. He's like, "No, you both dig."
And then like but Clint Eastwood obviously played that because he's also like the smartest character in this movie.
Yeah.
Because he played it very well. Because obviously he made it so that there was no way that anybody was going to get money if he didn't get money. Because
Yeah.
obviously it was not Art Stanton's grave,
And
but
he was right for the end part when he didn't write anyone's name on the rock because it is an unnamed grave.
yeah,
So
like that. I thought the only like the weakest part of that scene was him writing the name on the bottom of that stone because that was kind of stupid. Like why? Why? But I guess you got to do what you got to do.
but then you get this. Okay, so this is one of my
Well, it's like
favorite.
what 6 minutes of build up,
It's
just
one of
like
my favorite fight
them
scenes
just
ever.
looking at each
If you can
other.
call it a fight scene, it's one of my favorite fight scenes ever because at the end of the day, it's just this character moment where you get little. You can even pick up on little things if you notice it, like how Lee Van Cleef is like about to reach for the gun, and then Clint Eastwood also does, so he backs away for a second. There's like little build up moments like
Yeah,
that throughout it that makes it.
Like
Fun to
the
rewatch.
whole build up is like
If we gotta talk about the music
the
for that
music.
part,
Well, it's like yeah, it's like 5 minutes of just build up, just music playing and them looking at each other, but it goes.
it's one of the best scenes ever.
It goes.
And then in the end, what happens is Clint Eastwood goes for Lee Van Cleef. He shoots Lee Van Cleef. Lee Van Cleef dies. Eli Wallach's gun was not loaded because he unloaded it
Well, I think
earlier.
if we go back, so you can see them like deciding who to shoot. So Clint Eastwood is the one in control of the situation because he knows Eli Wallach's gun is unloaded. Lee Van Cleef is looking at both of them because he knows it's two against one, like because they both hate him more.
Yeah.
And Eli, like Tuco knows that too, so he's gonna go for Lee Van Cleef too. But and then you can see as it builds up to the point where Lee Van Cleef knows he's gonna die.
You can see in his
Like
eyes,
you
he's
can
like,
see at
he's
the
screwed.
by the time he knows he's screwed. And that's I think that's what makes this scene so much better. Is that like you kind of know what the characters are thinking, and then the soundtrack just aids in that.
And you can tell that just by their eyes and just by the music.
And then
No dialogue.
draw, boom, Lee Van Cleef is dead. Then you see more of Clint Eastwood just being cool, just shooting all of his stuff into the grave, make it easier on him. And then, so obviously they go over to the grave that has the money, and Tuco's still alive.
He digs the grave. Finally, you get the money, but then the camera pans up to him looking up, and there is the noose and everything
Yeah,
with.
and I think with the noose, like that's just shows Clint Eastwood's character is just smart because he knows Eli Wallach is still a terrible person,
And
even after all this.
he's
He
gonna
would
stop him.
backstab him at like any chance.
But this is also a moment where you get to see that Clint Eastwood is the good guy here at the end of the day because he's the one who has the decency to um, save Eli Wallach's life
Yeah.
because he could just let him die there and he still would make away with the money. He still saved Eli Wallach at the end, but he did it when he was back far enough away where Eli Wallach couldn't even just kill him afterwards. So he's smart, and he also is the one with the most of a moral compass in this situation.
Hmm. Yeah. And then he rides off into the sunset.
And apparently, there's a car in the background.
I didn't see that, but
Apparently, there is. I've heard it. Like, there's a
well,
car riding the background near the end,
that's fine.
and it's like this. It doesn't fit the movie at all.
Well, whatever.
So yeah, I'm guessing. I think I know your score for this when we get to it. But out of a scale of 1 to 10, what do you give the movie?
9.8.
9.8.
9.8.
I'm around that to a 10
Around that to a 10.
because it's an easy 10 for me. It's in like my top 10 movies. It might be my favorite movie I've done for the podcast so far. It's either
Yeah.
this or Die Hard because those are two of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Next time we are not doing a western.
Yeah, I don't know what you're doing.
I do. After you guys have to wait and see.
All right.
Goodbye.